Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star Part 325 based on novel. So let's start. Whenever the number of people exceeded 10,000, it would feel as though there was a sea of people. And yet close to 10,000 great beings of various clans from the universe boat had gathered in the life and death corridor. At first glance, it was, indeed, a dense crowd, and at that moment all of them were in a heated discussion. After the human Milky Way horde leader and Blue Blood, the next to pass the second bottleneck was, unexpectedly, Water Song Master. This is an inconspicuous universe master from the second reincarnation era has managed to catch up with the progress. Water Song has extraordinary potential. The first reincarnation era and the two Holy Lands must be going crazy with rage. Especially the first reincarnation era. It would be weird if they did not go mad with rage. Ranked first three are from the Primal Universe, East Emperor Holy Land Universe, and the second reincarnation era, respectively. There might be the most candidates from the first reincarnation era, yet none have made it to the top three. The various clans were gasping with admiration. Done. Luo Feng was smiling as he stood before the crystal pillar. Just a while ago, he had perfectly decoded the 3000th endgame within that crystal pillar, the moment he had successfully decoded that stage. Luo Feng raised his head to look far away. Duan Dong River should be showing up any moment. Countless cyan light spots were consolidating in the air. The temperature of the surroundings plunged, which faintly caused everyone's souls to feel a freezing sensation, sending violent shudders to course through every great being present. All raised their heads to look, and what they could see in midair were countless cyan light spots that looked like snowflakes falling. What's wrong? Something big is going to happen. These countless cyan light spots that resembled snowflakes suddenly surged towards Luo Feng in a frenzy. The ground behind Luo Feng suddenly split apart, and another crystal pillar appeared. At that moment, Luo Feng had three towering crystal pillars surrounding him, and the countless cyan light spots rapidly consolidated to form another palace that enshrouded him. Golden, red, and cyan, a tricolored palace that was dazzling beyond comparison. At that moment, Luo Feng was like a king of an army of close to 10,000 great beings of the universe ocean. What? No? Seventh true master of Divine Eye Clan let out a furious roar right away, his eyes filled with panic. The chance of transcending reincarnation belongs to my Divine Eye Clan. It belongs to my Divine Eye Clan. How detestable, I condemn you. This, an entrenched giant beast from the first reincarnation era cried tears of anguish as it let out a sorrowful roar. Are you bent on exterminating my entire young beast? Even our very last chance, you must deprive us of it. I can't bear to see this, I can't take it lying down. Desperation. All the great beings of the first reincarnation era were practically in despair. They were the majority of all the candidates present, and also the ones who desperately wanted to receive the inheritance because their doomsday was drawing near. If even this chance of inheritance was lost, they might be left with the path to annihilation. They were reluctant to be annihilated, so reluctant for the entire clan to disappear during this reincarnation era. They struggled. They fought. For this, they would do everything and anything, even if it meant bullying and insulting Luo Feng right from the very beginning. Even if it meant attacking him rampantly so as to affect his progress. But fate had made a mockery out of them. The scene before them clearly showed them that Luo Feng had already passed the third bottleneck. There were 4 bottlenecks, and if one managed to break through the 4th bottleneck, the inheritance could be claimed right away. There was no further need for competition. One who had obtained the inheritance at the 3rd bottleneck would take the identity of a core candidate. Compared to him, the rest were merely peripheral candidates who had passed the 1st bottleneck. The possibility that they would obtain the inheritance was almost negligible. Milky Way. A streak of white light appeared in midair, then transformed into the dazzling form of Duan Dong River, clothed in white, elegant armor. At that moment, Duan Dong River was no longer cold and aloof. On the contrary, he was dazzling. An era just passed. Duan Dong River closed his eyes, but tears were already falling. There was only silence. Every great being present raised his head to look at Duan Dong River. Only one era has passed, Duan Dong River said softly with a sigh. Even though time velocity was accelerated within the miniature universe, it was, nonetheless, only limited to 10,000 times. Yet you have managed to break through the third bottleneck. Never in my wildest dreams. On this road to desperation, after being forced to abandonment and finding myself on this road to desperation, I am still able to finally find a descendant like you. What? The expressions of every clan, every great being present, changed drastically. Could it be that Duan Dong River wanted to give Luo Feng the inheritance straight away? This would not do. I have done wrong to generations of ancestors. Duan Dong River shut his eyes as his body trembled. A look of anguish dominated his face as he slowly opened his eyes and looked at Luo Feng. I have done them wrong. It was me who sent all of Duan Dong River's pulse of bloodline falling into extermination. The pulse of Duan Dong River, which was incomparably noble and powerful, with countless eras of glory and fame, who once stood most dazzlingly on the apex of the world. But I have brought my pulse of bloodline into the ultimate severance. I am a sinner. But I had no choice. Duan Dong River looked at Luo Feng. You are apt to comprehend, and you are almost my equal in terms of ability. No matter what, at least for this generation of inheritance, I am able to find an heir who does not pale in comparison to me. You, in only one era, have broken through the third bottleneck. He gazed at Luo Feng. Congratulations, Milky Way. Luo Feng held his breath. If you can move on to reach the fourth bottleneck, Duan Dong River's gaze swept over the crowd, they, one by one, will be eliminated and annihilated in celebration of your claim of the inheritance. Close to 10,000 great beings present were shocked. One by one, they would be annihilated? Previously, did Duan Dong River not say that so long as they met the requirements, they could continue? Now, it seemed that Duan Dong River was obviously not an honest man. Once he found his heir, the other candidates would be rendered useless. For 3 eras. Duan Dong River looked at Luo Feng. This time, the time taken to comprehend the Rhinoceros Emperor game was a total of 3 eras. Within these 3 eras, if you can break through to reach the fourth bottleneck, then even if I were to die, I would feel no shame toward generations of ancestors. Remember, within 3 eras. As Duan Dong River said his last line, his figure diminished and vanished. The entire corridor fell into silence again. Countless great beings looked toward Luo Feng. In their eyes was jealousy, insanity, admiration, shock, malice, hatred. For 3 eras? Is that it? Luo Feng shut his eyes and continued to put his full efforts into comprehending the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Year after year, time passed. Every few thousand years within the corridor, there would be one great being who managed to pass the second bottleneck after much difficulty. As for breaking through the first bottleneck, that was no longer in the picture. Apparently, the great number of undying godly souls and universe knights who were unable to achieve the breakthrough had reached their limits. They would not be able to achieve that breakthrough regardless of how much time they were given. Blue Blood Universe Knight. Only second to Luo Feng when he passed the second bottleneck. Water Song Master. He was ranked 3rd. Dear Bug Master. His outburst was what Purple Moon Holy Land was secretly looking forward to. Remote Snow. The only undying. Yuzon Master. East Emperor Holy Land's only hope. Sorcerer Sprite Master. She had unexpectedly broken through the second bottleneck, which was indeed a great surprise, as the Divine Eye clan had not expected her to be able to achieve the breakthrough with the deadline of 3 eras drawing close. It was indeed an unexpected surprise. The whole Divine Eye clan was so emotional that most were close to tears. Sorcerer Sprite Master, a lady, had accidentally become the greatest hope of their clan. Time flew by. 28,000 years, 28,500 years, 29,000 years. The final boundary of the 3 eras timeline was drawing near. Everyone was anxious, all feeling worried. They were worried that Luo Feng might really achieve a breakthrough and pass the fourth bottleneck. He won't make it. He definitely won't make it. If he did, then all hope would be lost. No more hope. He can't. I would rather die. I would rather Luo Feng be annihilated so that my clan has hope. The last glimmer of hope. Do not cut off my clan's last bit of hope. One by one, they were secretly praying. There were even universe masters who went crazy and tried to attack Luo Feng. As a result, the tricolored palace merely gave a brief tremor, and they were immediately annihilated, reduced to dust. In the virtual universe, the man in the white robe looked toward Luo Feng. He was truly taken aback. Luo Feng was improving at a terrifying rate. Throughout the decoding process of Rhinoceros Emperor game, he had seen Luo Feng's speed getting faster and faster. His ability to comprehend was continuously on the rise, and his aptitude was also progressing at a terrifying rate. Luo Feng was like a piece of scrap metal evolving into an extremely fine piece of steel. He found it unbelievable. The evolution of a great being could be that fast, especially towards the final stage, when Luo Feng was decoding stage after stage without a break, like the reincarnation of a phoenix upon its death. There was no stopping him. Luo Feng's ability to comprehend alarmed Teacher Origin. Previously, he had only cultivated for a short period of time, mused Teacher Origin, and this time around, studying for 30,000 years under an acceleration of 10,000 times time velocity, which makes it 30,000 eras. Is it because time is ample this time around? No, the past generations had seen many great beings cultivating for endless years, but the situation had never become so extreme before. Could it be that the pulse of Earthlings originally possessed something unique within their souls? And Luo Feng happens to be the most dazzling one of them all? Teacher Origin thought it through. The pulse on Earth was a very special one, as its state of mind was equipped with an extremely strong willpower. Once there was comprehension achieved, breakthrough would be fast. Sitting Mountain Guest remodeled Earth, thus bringing about changes to a portion of my human race. This portion of humans now constitutes the pulse of Earthlings. With a frown, Teacher Origin thought, throughout the primal universe, or even throughout the entire universe ocean, what I have yet to gain a thorough look of, other than the ancestors of the two holy lands who have yet to show themselves within the universe ocean, is this Sitting Mountain Guest. Sitting Mountain Guest. What plans did he have? Everything about Luo Feng is related to him. Previously, he took Flame Emperor under his wing, and later there was also PUT. Teacher Origin pondered. He was the creator of the virtual universe. The virtual universe enveloped the entire primal universe. It was magical. It was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Teacher Origin knew many secrets and mysteries, but there were still many that he could not wrap his mind around. Sitting Mountain Guest was one person he could not fathom. Luo Feng was completely immersed in the world filled with Rhinoceros Emperor game and secret techniques. He had started out studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game as an amateur, but with the passing of time, by honing of willpower, his ability to comprehend was fundamentally improved through all the studying he was engaged in. For various reasons, he was addicted. Now, he was obsessed with studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. The instantaneous interpretation, comprehension, and decoding from a million different perspectives. The exhilaration he got, as though he had figured out the secrets of the universe. As for his potential, under such a honing process, he was like a piece of jade gradually starting to radiate its brilliance. The 3890th stage. Luo Feng stopped for a breather and a sense of time. With a slight frown, he lamented, the time limit of 3 eras is drawing near. Am I able to make it in time? However. So, what if I cannot make it in time? The Rhinoceros Emperor game benefits me greatly. Even if I were to really come in contact with the inheritance, I have full confidence that I will be able to seize it. Luo Feng had a confidence that came from within. After close to 3 eras of honing, he had already brought both of his willpower, and that comprehension that was so difficult to detect, to an extremely intimidating level. East Emperor Holy Land's blue blood has broken through the third bottleneck. Similarly, countless cyan light spots rained down to create an incomparably dazzling scene. Duan Dong River made his appearance. An heir of mine. I'm afraid, only you are able to fight with Milky Way now. The other candidates, unless they undergo repeated evolutions. Duan Dong River looked at Blue Blood Knight and encouraged. Keep working hard. Do not concede defeat so easily. Yes. Blue Blood Knight was deferential. He looked toward Luo Feng with an intimidating light in his eyes. That was absolute insanity. He was fighting on. Fighting on. The one and only chance of endless time had come. He was grasping onto it with his life. He would hold a tight rein over himself and give it his all. He was burning with passion. Before the limit of 3 eras arrived, he finally decoded the 3000th stage. Blue Blood. Luo Feng took one look at Blue Blood Knight. He wants to fight me. The 3 eras finally came to an end. In the end, Luo Feng only managed to decode up to the 3911th stage. This was already an amazing feat after all. He had spent slightly more than 1 era to finally break through the 3rd bottleneck. With just 2 eras, it would be too difficult to break through the 4th bottleneck. Duan Dong River looked down at everyone and slowly announced. At the end of 3 eras, the selection through Rhinoceros Emperor game ends. 292 achieved a breakthrough of the 1st bottleneck. 5 achieved a breakthrough of the 2nd bottleneck. 2 achieved a breakthrough of the 3rd bottleneck. The great beings beneath Duan Dong River started shouting. We all arrived later than Milky Way and company. We should be given more time. True, do give us more time. Indeed, there were many who had arrived later than Luo Feng by half a year or even 1 to 2 years. Duan Dong River looked down and said coldly, even giving you all another era, I'm afraid none of you would have passed the 1st bottleneck. Even if you managed to pass the 1st bottleneck, what use would I have for you all? This inheritance, Milky Way, and Blue Blood are the most important. The other 5 who passed the 2nd bottleneck are, theoretically, still possible candidates. The rest of you are merely here to make up the number. As for all of you here, you did not even make it past the 1st bottleneck. According to the rules, all of you shall die? Duan Dong River made a wave. Golden light rays burst out from the numerous crystal pillars within the life and death corridor. That golden light could give rise to a palace. It could also be used to attack. Countless light spots attacked the great beings. In the blink of an eye, close to 10,000 great beings who were present were annihilated, reduced to dust. In the end, only near to 300 survived. The survivors, although taken aback by how powerful that force was, were all filled with anticipation. Rhinoceros Emperor game had finally come to an end. The next step would be to start getting in contact with the inheritance. This was the legendary inheritance from a pulse of Duan Dong River. The rest of you shall continue advancing. Upon reaching the next hall, you may start receiving the inheritance. Duan Dong River looked at Luo Feng and the other 299 candidates, then pointed to somewhere far away. A loud rumble sounded, and a faraway floodgate that was originally shut started to rise. Even from where Luo Feng stood, he could faintly see the hall at the other end. Go on. Duan Dong River transformed into a streak of light, and with a flash, he arrived at the faraway hall. Luo Feng, Blue Blood Knight, Deer Bug Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Water Song Master, Remote Snow, Yuzon Master, and the 7 Universe Supreme Masters, as well as a large group of candidates who managed to pass the 1st bottleneck, all flew toward the next hall. Virtual Universe. Numerous stone pillars with their 3-dimensional virtual shadows could be found. Luo Feng was seated cross-legged, but he had already stopped comprehending. Because he was about to start getting in contact with the inheritance, he did not dare get distracted. The 3 great eras. The man in white robes stood before a stone pillar. With a smile, he nodded. At least I made it before the 3 great eras, I shall stop my decoding here. The 6002nd stage. The man in white robes laughed lightly and shook his head. Inside the dark and ancient palace, there were only 9 crystal balls giving out dimming light, illuminating the entire palace. When the 299 great beings flew into the palace, Duan Dong River was already sitting in the throne and looking down with a smile on his face. "You can start to know the real inheritance now that you've arrived here," he said. Inheritance? Real inheritance? Every power knew that only one could receive the complete inheritance. However, even if one could only receive part of the inheritance and bring back the information, it would be worth it. Even part of the inheritance might provide a way to transcend incarnation. "Once I find a way, I'll self-destruct," said some. "I have other bodies, so I can still live. But if I'm attacked by Duan Dong River, I might die forever." Many great beings who had overcome the first obstacle thought this way. There were 299 great beings. 2 of them had overcome the third obstacle, and 5 had overcome the second obstacle. There wouldn't be any chance for those who had only overcome the first obstacle. If they were smart, they should have just gathered some information and left immediately. Duan Dong River, seeing those great beings excited, said, "Don't hurry. Theoretically, you can all start the real inheritance. However, I have something to ask." "Ask?" Everyone was anxious. They all cursed Duan Dong River for creating so much trouble. "I'll spare the other candidates, but I do want to ask the 7 Universe Supreme Masters." Duan Dong River looked down at the 7 Universe Supreme Masters. Out of the 7, 6 were from the first Universe era while 1 was from the second. They were way behind this time, and they had been crushed during the Rhinoceros game. "If you don't answer appropriately, you lose your chance to receive inheritance," said Duan Dong River. The 7 Universe Supreme Masters were shocked. "It's not that I'm not giving you a chance, but Duan Dong River has special requirements for miniature universes," said Duan Dong River. "Once a miniature universe is formed, the path will be restricted. If the structures of your miniature universes cannot meet my requirements, you won't be qualified to receive inheritance." The structures of miniature universes? All the Universe Supreme Masters were dazed. "Universe Masters and Universe Knights are relatively weak and haven't formed miniature universes yet," said Duan Dong River. "They don't have this problem. The one who receives the inheritance from Duan Dong River will be instructed how to structure his miniature universe. However, they are already fixed. Let me ask you this. What are your miniature universes like?" Well, all the Supreme Masters were hesitant. They all desired to answer with the kind of miniature universes Duan Dong River wanted, yet they could just invent an answer. Duan Dong River wasn't dumb enough to accept it. At the same time, other 292 great beings were all relieved, as it was the Universe Supreme Masters who had to take the bullet. "No wonder," thought Luo Feng. He understood now. No wonder the 2 Holy Lands didn't send any Universe Supreme Masters. It seems that Duan Dong River allows Universe Supreme Masters to become inheritors, but he has set an extremely high threshold, as well as special requirements for the structures of miniature universes. The Universe Supreme Masters don't even have miniature universes anymore, so there aren't any structures. But there are requirements for miniature universes. The Universe Masters, Universe Knights, and Undying Fighters broadened their horizons. They weren't in any trouble, but they were interested in learning the requirements for the structures of miniatures universes. "Just tell me." Duan Dong River frowned. "What are you waiting for? You, speak first." He pointed at Tai Bu Demon Master. Tai Bu Demon Master was hesitant, then said, "When I turned into a Universe Supreme Master from a Universe Master, I created 8 dimensions around the miniature universe: gold, wood, water, fire, mud, wind, thunder, and light. They are all connected to the universe origin and stabilizing the small universe." "Ordinary laws," Duan Dong River smirked and shook his head. "Next." He looked at Second True Master. Tai Bu Demon Master shook his head and sighed, as he knew that he had no chance. Second True Master became anxious. He began to make things up. "I've created 10,081 miniature dimension spaces, and each of the dimension spaces is connected to the universe origin, leading to an energy space. Besides, the 10,081 spaces formed a space engraving in the shape of a sword. Just so. Duan Dong River looked to Second True Master. Second True Master kept speaking. Of course not. I've also created 1001 small dimensions, forming time engravings, which is also in the shape of a sword. The time engraving and space engraving are intertwined. You're just making things up, said Duan Dong River. Your miniature universe would have been in a mess if that were the case. Next. Ha ha. Some great beings couldn't help laughing. Second True Master glanced around, angry. He had, indeed, been making things up, as it was a completely imaginary structure. After all, when he was breeding the universe, he was very careful, and he didn't dare to be bold. When I became a Universe Supreme Master, God Kingdom became a small universe, which has 8 periphery worlds and 2 core worlds. It's extremely stable. Even though it's stable, it's difficult to improve. Duan Dong River shook his head. Next. All the Universe Supreme Masters were trying to make up lies to satisfy the requirements of Duan Dong River, but he was not fooled. Next. Ha ha, interesting. Are you sure your universe is like that? Mediocre. After hearing all the answers from the Universe Supreme Masters, he shook his head. Without the instructions from the more powerful beings, he said, you can't even think of a more sophisticated way to create universes. None of you 7 can inherit Duan Dong River, and you don't have enough potential. If you can solve 6,000 puzzles, we'll be willing to pay the price. However, you're too underqualified to receive the inheritance from my Duan Dong River. The 7 Universe Supreme Masters looked at each other, discouraged that they had come here trying to receive inheritance. They were at a disadvantage when playing the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and they were discriminated against because of their miniature universes. All the other 292 great beings were calm, even those great beings from the first universe era. After all, it wasn't discrimination against a particular power. Instead, none of the Universe Supreme Masters were qualified to enter the next round. I didn't expect that there were mysteries behind forming miniature universes, Luo Feng thought. That's right. Universe Supreme Masters are already the top beings in the original universe. As for the universe structures, only the greater beings from the ancient civilization can tell which one is better. This was what inheritance meant. It was based on the experience of the elder generations, and they found a path to becoming the pinnacle being. The elder generations paid a great price for it, and it was so invaluable that even the 2 ancestors from Holy Land longed for it. None of you 7 are qualified. Duan Dong River looked down. Aside from you 7, none of the candidates from the Divine Eye clan are qualified, and they are all going to die. Divine Eye clan. Luo Feng was dazed. What? Dear Bug Master was surprised as well. The Divine Eye clan isn't qualified. Blue Blood Knight was confused. Impossible. Sorcerer Sprite Master said, shocked. Everyone from the Divine Eye clan was dazed. 7th True Master took out the Supreme True Treasure Ice Cliff Fortress. He immediately went into Ice Cliff Fortress, which grew larger. The fortress on the mountain looked elegant and delicate. 7th True Master transmitted his voice, come in. Everyone from the Divine Eye clan entered Ice Cliff Fortress. All the 28 candidates from the Divine Eye clan entered Ice Cliff Fortress. It landed on the floor, followed by a furious voice saying, Master Duan Dong River, why aren't we qualified? Why do we all need to die? Why are we discriminated against? If you really don't want us to receive inheritance, why didn't you tell us when we were being inspected just like you did to the Skeleton Clan? If you had told us beforehand, we wouldn't have come in. The candidates from the Divine Eye clan were indeed infuriated. However, they all knew that they needed to have the argument from inside Ice Cliff Fortress. After all, even Duan Dong River couldn't hurt them if they were in a Supreme True Treasure Palace, especially when Duan Dong River was already dead. That's right, why the double standard? You gave us hope, and you let us despair. Why did you only tell us we're not qualified and we all have to die at this moment? Clearly, the Divine Eye clan was infuriated. Duan Dong River looked down. It's a request from my friend. I owe him one, so I said yes. This video will end here.